A shocking revelation has emerged in the ongoing controversy surrounding a collapsed spy case against two men accused of espionage for China. The Education Secretary has stated that a key security advisor, Jonathan Powell, had no involvement in the evidence or substance of the case. But here's where it gets controversial. The Conservative Party has suggested that Powell, the Prime Minister's national security advisor, played a role in withholding crucial evidence from prosecutors, thus hindering their ability to secure convictions. Charges against Christopher Cash and Christopher Berry, who both deny the allegations, were dropped last month. This decision has sparked criticism from ministers and MPs, leaving many questioning the reasons behind the collapse of the trial. When asked about Powell's involvement, Bridget Phillipson assured the BBC that he had no conversations regarding the substance or evidence of the case. She expressed deep disappointment that the case did not proceed and emphasized that the Crown Prosecution Service, CPS, should explain their inability to bring forward a prosecution. Downing Street initially denied any ministerial involvement, but the Director of Public Prosecutions, Stephen Parkinson, recently intervened, stating that the trial collapsed because the government failed to provide evidence labeling China as a national security threat. And this is the part most people miss. The Conservatives have submitted an urgent question in Parliament demanding ministers explain the trial's collapse to MPs on Monday. They suggest that Powell, who has advocated for closer ties with Beijing, did not provide the CPS with the necessary evidence. Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp called on ministers to urgently explain why they chose not to disclose the extensive information demonstrating China's threat to national security during the 2021 to 2023 period. He added, "It appears Jonathan Powell was behind this decision, and he should resign if so." The Prime Minister defended the government's position, stating that they could only rely on the previous Conservative government's stance, which labeled China an epoch-defining challenge. He emphasized the need to prosecute based on the circumstances at the time of the alleged offense, focusing on the Tory government's policy then. Several former Conservative ministers and advisers have confirmed to the BBC that there was no official designation of whether a country poses a threat. They claim there is a document with hundreds of examples of Chinese activities threatening the UK at the time of the alleged offences, which could have been used as evidence. Sources cited the hack on the Ministry of Defence, suspected to be carried out by China, as one of many incidents. One source from the last government stated, "I don't think there is a sane jury in the world that would look at that evidence and conclude China was not a threat." Former Conservative ministers also pointed to public statements, including those made by the former head of MI5, Ken McCallum, who in 2023 described a sustained campaign of Chinese espionage on a pretty epic scale. The Liberal Democrats criticized the government's approach to China, stating it puts our national security at risk. They urged the government to block the planning application for a new Chinese embassy in London, arguing that it would enable Chinese espionage on an industrial scale. Mr. Cash, a former parliamentary researcher, and Mr. Berry were charged under the Official Secrets Act in April 2024, during the Conservative government's tenure. They were accused of gathering and providing information detrimental to the state's safety and interests between December 2021 and February 2023. Under the Official Secrets Act, spying accusations can only lead to prosecution if the information passed on was useful to an enemy. However, last month, the Director of Public Prosecutions announced that the case could no longer proceed to trial since the evidence no longer met the evidential test. This case has sparked intense debate and raised questions about the government's handling of national security matters, especially concerning China. It remains to be seen how this controversy will unfold and what impact it will have on future policy decisions. What are your thoughts on this matter? Do you think the government handled this situation appropriately? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments below.